Welcome to Blues Weekly, brought to you by Scott Credit Union. I'm Brooke Grimsley. Another week, another major obstacle to overcome. The Blues missing 6 players due to injury and COVID-19 protocol. But despite that, they were able to pick up 3 points in their last 3 games, including a hard-fought point against the Panthers yesterday. We like a fast start in this one. In the first period, Dakota Joshua, backhander, tipped in by Logan Brown, his second goal of the season after being called up just this past week. It is 1-0 Blues. In the second period, tied game now 1-1. Ryan O'Reilly with a great pass out to Jake Wallman, and he fires it into the back of the net. It is a 2-1 Blues lead. In the third period, it is tied once again. Ryan O'Reilly here, watch this, with a great pass through traffic over to Brandon Saad. He banks home goal number 10 of the season to give the Blues the lead 3-2. But under 5 minutes to go in the third period here, watch this. Mammon scores right off the faceoff. His second goal of the game ties things up 3-3. This can't be decided in regulation or overtime. To a shootout we go. It's 1-1 after 2 rounds. Sam Reinhart here scores through the legs of Husso. It comes down to the captain, Ryan the Factor O'Reilly, but a shootout attempt falls short. The Panthers win 4-3 in the shootout. The Blues trying to look on the bright side of things after the loss, and that was a hard-fought point.
Goalie played really well. Guys battled, had to kill some penalties, in the third and overtime. They battled. I mean, we got to work on some things for sure. We play them again, so we'll look at the tape and we'll get better.
It was a tight game and kind of disappointing to we had the lead at the end, and it was like 2 minutes left and they tied the game, and then one point is, they're a good hockey team too, so 1 point, and we need to look the positive side.
Yeah, I think there's always some good things that you can take out of a lot of games, and just keep moving forward, just keep working on the little things that I think are going to make a big difference in our game, and that's going to make us better and give ourselves a good chances to win.
For more insight on the Blues, we bring in now voice of the Blues for Valley Sports Midwest, John Kelly. John, it's so great to see you again. It was an all-Florida week for the Blues, and despite another blow to their roster, they were able to pick up 3 points in their last 3 games, including a point in yesterday's shootout loss. Of course, you would rather pick up a win, but John, that was honestly a very hard-fought point for the Blues.
Well, Brooke, when you consider that now in the state of Florida, you have the Tampa Bay Lightning, the 2-time defending Stanley Cup champions, and then you have the Florida Panthers, a team that has lost 1 game at home. It's certainly no trip to the sun for any team in the National Hockey League. And I also think positively, the Blues were tied in both games going to the third period. It was 1-1 in Tampa Bay, and last night it was 2-2. After 2 periods. Of course, the Blues got goals from Brown, Wallman, and Brandon Saad. So they were in position to win both games. I guess the negative is they only got 1 point in those 2 games. But again, those 2 teams, the Florida Panthers and the Tampa Bay Lightning, are very good clubs. And of course, you also hate to see your team give up a game-tying goal with about 2 minutes left with the goalie pulled. It was a face-off win, a clean face-off win, and Manham with the shot. And then, of course, the Panthers win in the shootout. But again, the Blues played pretty well considering they have 6 players out, including their best defender, Justin Falk, and also their starting goaltender, Jordan Binnington.
Well, John, mentioning defensemen right there, one of my favorite highlights from last night's game was Robert Bortuzzo quite literally laying it all out there for the Blues. Bortuzzo was a one-man Stiglitz show on the penalty kill during overtime. That's the kind of stuff that you love to see from a player, especially when they're shorthanded right now.
Yeah, Brooke, he has always been a heart and soul kind of player, and that's why he's one of the most valuable penalty killers in the National Hockey League. And, of course, for most of that 2-minute kill, he had no stick. So you have a 4-on-3 power play. Only 2 skaters have sticks, and you have some of the top players in the National Hockey League firing bombs, including Jonathan Huberdeau, and, of course, on defense, Aaron Ekblad, number 5. So just a gutsy performance by Bortuzzo, diving and putting his body in the way. And, obviously it didn't pay off in an extra point, but the Blues obviously, dodged a major bullet in the last 2 minutes on that power play. And they very well could have won the shootout, but they didn't. But certainly give Robert Bortuzzo high marks for everything he did in the last couple of minutes. And you can see the players, they love what he did. Again, one of the most popular Blues. And that's why, because of what he did on that kill.
Well, before the game against the Lightning, Jordan Binnington and Justin Falk, as you mentioned, placed on COVID-19 protocols. Ville Husso taking over between the pipes. He has not played many consecutive games in his career, but now he really just has to. That's the only option. In last night's game, John, Husso stopping 48 of 51 shots that he faced, the most shots that he's faced in his 2 NHL seasons. Are you just really impressed with him stepping up right now? It seems like it's his time to shine.
Well, he has to because Binnington is gone for 10 days. He's in COVID protocol. So this is a great opportunity for Ville Husso. Again, a second-year player. And we talked to Craig Berube about Ville Husso the other day, and he said that really late last year, he found his game starting to come in shape. And he also felt that his work ethic has gotten better in practice, and that has translated into the game. So I think overall, Ville has had a very good season. And, of course, until yesterday, he had not started consecutive games, but now we will have to with Jordan Binnington in COVID protocol. So he obviously has played extremely well, a good young goaltender. I think the biggest thing that I see, Brooke, from this year to last year is Ville is more aggressive. He's not in his blue paint when somebody's taking a shot. He's out of the blue paint for the most part, and very aggressive, very confident. And I think it's a improved Ville Husso from last year to this year.
Well, and also, just so that we can kind of rehatch some of this with the COVID-19 protocols, if you could, John, explain, so now that we have Jordan Binnington in COVID-19 protocols, what does this mean for his likelihood of returning anytime soon? Is it still the 10-day mark that they'll have to sit out?
Well, as far as we know, now there have been a few players, not Blues players, but some players in the National Hockey League, Brooke, have had false positive tests. So you test the player again, and then if that test comes back negative, well, then perhaps he could return. As far as we know, both Justin Falk and Binnington, the latest players to go into COVID protocol, they will have to remain in protocol for 10 days. So that seems to be the timeline for those two players and the other players that are in protocol right now for the Blues.
Well, I feel like the theme of this season so far has been young and new guys having to step up, and that's because they really have to because of injuries and COVID, but they really are making the most of it. One of those newer faces being Logan Brown, making his season debut this past week and has already picked up 2 goals in a hurry for his hometown team. His father, as we know, former Blues defenseman Jeff Brown. That's been a really fun storyline to follow. What do you think about it, John?
I think it's an amazing story. Again, it's, very young in his career as a St. Louis Blue. Of course, he's played only 3 games, but now has 2 goals. And, he was traded, obviously, for Zach Sanford and did not have a great training camp, got sent down to Springfield, had very good numbers in the American Hockey League. So he's come back, and Berube said he worked on his game, worked on his skating, and he looks to me like a good player. Now, again, it's only 3 games, but he's had a nose for the net. He's shown a lot of confidence. When he gets the puck, he's making plays. And I think a good example of the confidence the coach has in him is that he was used in the shootout yesterday. And his dad, by the way, you mentioned Jeff Brown. He was actually in South Florida at the game. And he was, of course, at the game at Enterprise Center on Tuesday when the Blues hosted Tampa Bay, and he scored his first goal as a member of the Blues. So I know Jeff very well. I actually broadcast his games when he was a member of the Blues back in the early 90s. And Jeff obviously was a great player, and I just can't imagine how proud he is of Logan Brown. And that was a great play, by the way, on yesterday's goal by Dak Joshua, who picked up his first NHL assist. You mentioned young players, Brooke. He obviously has come up, and he's been up 3 or 4 times now, and he's done a good job every time he's been with the big club.
Well, and one of the key veteran players of Blues also missing a lot right now is David Perron. Perron still hasn't returned since exiting the game early against the Blackhawks over a week ago with an upper body injury. John, have you heard any update on his status and possible return?
No, I haven't heard any official update from the team. I did hear through a source that he was feeling pretty good, but that doesn't mean a whole lot. So we might find out tomorrow when the team returns to practice at Centene Ice Arena. So hopefully David can get back. And remember, concussions obviously have plagued David in his career. Not plagued him, but he obviously had a really bad one about 10 years ago when he got hit by Joe Thornton and missed about 14 months. So hopefully this one is not nearly as bad. Obviously, we hope David could play Tuesday night against the Florida Panthers, but we'll cross our fingers. And again, hopefully we have more news on David Perron at tomorrow's practice at Centene.
And John, I know you already mentioned Dakota Joshua, and he's really stepping up right now. Besides Joshua, is there another player that you would like to see step up for the Blues through all these changes? And we also have a very busy week for the Blues, or also a player that has impressed you through all of this?
Well, I think we talked about the two players in particular. The goaltender, Ville Husso, has really impressed, and Logan Brown. But I think, Brooke, my opinion is when you have 6 players out with injury or are in COVID protocol, it's tough. It's tough on any team. So you have to rely on your veterans. And we mentioned in the open of our broadcast yesterday on Bally Sports that the veterans like Braden Shen and Ryan O'Reilly have to step up. To me, you can't ask the young players to suddenly go from maybe 10 minutes to 15 minutes and score all the key goals. To me right now, the guys in the leadership core of the Blues have to step up. And I'm talking about Shen and O'Reilly. I thought O'Reilly played a really good game yesterday. And a guy like Tarasenko, who hasn't scored now in 9 or 10 games. The Blues need goals from Vladdy Tarasenko. I think that's pretty obvious. So to me, when times are tough and you're playing top teams like the Blues are playing again on Tuesday night against the Panthers, you've got to look to the veterans, because those are the guys that should lead you and hopefully will lead you through difficult times.
Well, also highest on your payroll too, right, John?
Exactly.
We'll have more from John Kelly after the break as we look ahead to a busy week at home for the Blues.